Eagles training camp reaction is coming up here on Philadelphia Eagles Now. Hope you're all having a great Saturday. My name is Chase Sr. Here's everything and more that we're talking about here on the show. We have a Jalen Carter injury update as he did not practice again with that shoulder ailment. Is Jihaad Campbell, the rookie first-round pick out of Alabama, trending towards starting week 1 against the Cowboys next to Zack Baun at that inside linebacker spot? New Eagles offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo gives us a hint for what we can expect from this Eagles offense in 2025. And of course, with practice number 3 in the rear view, we're going to talk training camp developments, news, battles, and the top storylines. Do want to say thank you to all of the real ones for supporting the channel, watching the show, and getting us past 123,000 subscribers. And I also want to add this. If you want me to do a video on this whole Cam Newton, Jalen Hurts discourse, I have a lot of thoughts. I haven't been able to get to it because we've been talking training camp here. Type F Cam down in the comment section. If we get enough of those comments with enough interest, I'll be sure to dive in because I have a lot of opinions on what Cam Newton has said about Jalen Hurts. All right, let's begin here with the Jalen Carter injury update. He's been dealing with a shoulder injury. He missed practice again today on this July 26th on this Saturday. So we're 3 practices in. He is yet to practice during Eagles training camp, but Mike Garafolo, NFL insider for the NFL Network, had this update this morning that this Carter injury, quote, nothing of great concern here in Philadelphia on Jalen Carter. He said that as he was reporting from the NovaCare complex in South Philadelphia, who has been sidelined to start Eagles camp. Now, on the Carter front, we haven't really heard much up to this point from the team. So the fact that Garafolo had that to report, it's a positive update given Carter's importance to this Eagles defense. What's also notable, the Eagles didn't place him on the physically unable to perform list or the non-football injury list, so I imagine they think that he can return to the practice field soon. Last year, a second-team All-Pro solidified himself as one of the top defensive players in the game and one of the biggest disruptors on the defensive side of the ball in the National Football League. Elsewhere on the injury front, the Eagles escaping practice clean as far as the injury report goes. Another positive development with the injury news for Philadelphia, Kenyon Green, who came back to Philadelphia in that C.J. Gardner-Johnson trade, did practice for the first time today along that Eagles offensive line. As for Jihaad Campbell, continues to impress the coaching staff, his fellow teammates, and media members on hand who have been watching these Eagles practices. Zack Baun, who covers the Birds for PHLY, tweeted this out. We're 3 practices into camp. Jihaad Campbell is mixing in with the first-team defense. This is looking like it's on track for a Baun-Campbell combo September 4th, season opener at home against the Dallas Cowboys as the Birds raise up that second Super Bowl banner. Jihaad Campbell is running with the ones today. This is a player who fell to the Eagles due to injury concerns, yet he was ready for day 1 of Eagles training camp. And now we're 3 days in, and he's getting reps with the first-team defense. I'm very intrigued by the player. I'm intrigued by the skill set coming out of high school when he was at IMG Academy in Florida. He was recruited to Alabama as a pass rusher. So he has instincts and built-in skills, a foundation for him to get after the quarterback, like Zack Baun, who played primarily as a pass rusher with the New Orleans Saints prior to making the switch to off-ball linebacker last year with the Eagles when he became a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. And he was a first-team All-Pro alongside Fred Warner, who for years has been the best off-ball linebacker in the game. And so Alabama had some injuries at that off-ball linebacker spot, so they moved Campbell there, and over time, he became a really good player, showing a knack for making plays in coverage against the run. He has 4.5 speed in the 40-yard dash. He's very long, lengthy, and he moves extremely well at the linebacker position. The Eagles have not had a linebacker with this much upside and potential who's been a homegrown player in a really long time. Last year, Zack Baun was the best off-ball linebacker for the Eagles since Jeremiah Trotter in the early 2000s, not taking anything away from Nigel Bradham on that 2017 Super Bowl team. or TJ Edwards or Jordan Hicks, but we're talking about different levels of players here. And Jihaad Campbell has so much more ability than those aforementioned players, and he's homegrown. And so if Campbell is starting week 1 next to Zack Baun, what a developmental phase here and growth from the rookie. And it goes to show, if that happens, how impressed Vic Fangio is with the player. It's not going to be easy for Campbell to lock down that role because Jeremiah Trotter Jr. has had a really good camp. The Eagles really like how he's a student of the game, how he plays with feel and instincts. He is just a natural, instinctual player at that linebacker spot. You can tell that he is a former All-Pro son, but he doesn't have the speed, the strength, the athletic ability, the ability to be agile at the linebacker position that Jihaad Campbell has. Campbell's a freak athlete. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is not. He didn't test well in the pre-draft. He plays well based upon the knack, the feel, the instinctual nature that he's able to possess at that linebacker spot to read and diagnose plays, to be in the right spot at the right time. And so Trot against Campbell, really good off-ball linebacker battle to see who starts week 1 with Nakobe Dean coming off that patellar tendon injury. As for Kevin Patullo, the new Eagles offensive coordinator, he spoke this morning for the first time during Eagles training camp. Isn't this crazy? This will be Jalen Hurts' 5th different offensive coordinator in 6 years and his 6th different play caller in that amount of time. When you count Nick Sirianni calling plays, Shane Steichen as well. So Jalen Hurts has had Doug Peterson, Nick Sirianni, Shane Steichen, Brian Johnson, Kellen Moore, and Kevin Patullo calling plays for him since he was drafted in the 2nd round in 2020. You look at some of the other top quarterbacks in the NFL now, in the present, and in the past, they've had the luxury of having stability, continuity, and consistency at offensive coordinator / play caller, which just helps their performances. Jalen Hurts has been able to overcome that, still be one of the top quarterbacks in the game, become a champion and a Super Bowl MVP, yet he hasn't had any continuity at the offensive coordinator spot. Really impressive that Hurts has been able to take that in stride. And with Patullo, he's been around Nick Sirianni since 2018. When I talked to him at the Super Bowl in New Orleans back in February, I pressed him on his offensive philosophy. We played that interview a few times here on the show, and I'm impressed with how he thinks about offensive football, and I think that he can bring new creative concepts, play calls, and play designs to this offense while also continuing to build off of what the Eagles have done very well and the existing scheme that they have, the personnel that they have. Since Sirianni came here, they've been a top 5, top 10 offense collectively since 2021. So you don't need to change all that much, but you do need to adapt and evolve to a certain degree. Kevin Patullo did say also, with how good the Eagles wide receivers are on the perimeter and how good Hurts is at throwing the deep ball, I think he's the best deep ball thrower in the NFL. The offense is going to want to take chances downfield. I love that aggressiveness. I like how Kevin Patullo is willing to maximize the personnel and the strengths of the players on this team and take advantage of something that the Eagles have done and do very, very well. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, they're excellent wide receivers. 2 of the top wide receivers in the game. You have this special ability that Jalen Hurts possesses to get the ball downfield. Even a player like Jahan Dotson, I think, is capable of making plays downfield. You have Terrace Marshall fighting for a roster spot. Danny Gray fighting for a roster spot. They run 4-4 and 4-3. So to hear Kevin Patullo say that, I like it. Patullo also said he will call plays from the sideline. I hate when offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators call plays from the skybox. Now, Vic Fangio does, but Vic Fangio is one of the GOATs as far as defensive minds over the course of NFL history, so he's earned that. But I just like having the feel on the sideline, being able to have face-to-face interaction with players. I think it helps from a coaching standpoint a lot. So for Patullo, a new OC, to call plays from the sideline, that's a positive development. He's been on the sideline throughout his time with the Eagles. And going back to him wanting to stick with what the Eagles do well, but building off of what they do well to implement and insert new elements to this Eagles offense. He said, we're still the Eagles offense. That is not going to change. The Eagles like to play bully ball. They like to wear you down with the best offensive line in football. They have been one of the best rushing teams in all of football, but also they've taken shots downfield. They've gotten aggressive. So you don't have to change all that much, but you always need to sprinkle in some new creativity so that opposing defenses don't catch up to you. That's what the Eagles didn't do well from 2022 to 2023, and that's why the offense came predictable. Kevin Patullo also said it's clear watching Jalen Hurts practice how much he's improved over the years. He's been completing this offseason like 93% of his passes. It's ridiculous. And Patullo said in meetings, Hurts is great at pointing out what the defense is doing. Remember in 2023 and coming out of Oklahoma in the pre-draft process, everybody tried to say Jalen Hurts, he predetermines where he's going to go with the ball. He's not one of those quarterbacks who can dissect what the defense is doing pre-snap. A lot of that comes with experience. Hurts has really grown in that area. He's become a lot more mature with that skill set at the quarterback position. And this is something that should get fans excited because it shows that Jalen Hurts can continue to get better and better and better over time as he becomes more experienced as a player and starts to see any type of defense that is possible across the landscape of the NFL. As far as the training camp reaction for today, Jalen Hurts hit A.J. Brown with a dime down the right sideline for about 30 yards. That was probably his best throw of the day. Kelee Ringo had tight coverage, but he got beat by just a better throw and a better catch. Kelee Ringo so far in camp has given up big plays, but it's not for a lack of good coverage. It's been good defense, but better offense, and that's just Hurts excelling with another long ball. A.J. Brown also said this the other day, going into year 7, I truly feel like I'm the best in the league, and I would have put a stamp on that, so I'm definitely motivated, but also I have to put the team first. That's what I do, honestly. I could go into deeper, but I think that's what I'm focused on, being the best version of myself and proving each and every day that I am the best. Part of that is him elevating and testing his teammates. He's been testing Kelee Ringo, who is trying to lock down this starting role opposite of Quinyon Mitchell. But A.J. Brown's going to make it harder for him. And while Kelee Ringo might be giving up some big plays in training camp, he is going to become a better player because he's been matching up against A.J. Brown. Iron sharpens iron. Jordan Davis today, we talked about on the show this week how he's slimmed down and he looks great in the best shape of his life. He pushed the pocket on multiple occasions. I really think that Davis, with having a higher level of stamina, is going to be able to have a really good year. Plus, he's motivated because he's looking to lock down a contract extension. The Eagles showed faith in him by exercising his 5th-year option that guarantees his salary for 2025 and 2026, but he wants that long-term money. So him getting in good shape, slimming down, prioritizing his health, being motivated with the skill set that he already has, this could be the breakout year for Davis, who the back half of last year was really good. And then in the playoffs, one of the highest graded defensive tackles in football. Moro Ojomo had a would-be sack. He continues to generate pressure on the quarterback consistently. This young Eagles pass rush today and throughout training camp has been on display. Davis, Moro Ojomo, Jalix Hunt got compared to Micah Parsons by Jordan Mailata the other day. Howie Roseman did not pull off a blockbuster move for a proven pass rusher because he believes in the young players on this roster. That says a lot, and obviously you have to include Nolan Smith in that conversation. Danny Gray, who has that 4.3 speed, former 3rd-round pick by the Niners, he had a really good spring. He had a nice play on a ball from Tanner McKee today. Terrace Marshall 6'2", over 200 pounds with 4.4 speed, a former second-round pick. Got some first-team reps today. I think that Marshall and Gray can really push Anaya Smith and Johnny Wilson for wide receiver 4 and wide receiver 5. We haven't heard anything from Smith or Marshall yet. Adoree Jackson for the second consecutive practice up first at cornerback instead of Keely Ringo. So Vic Fangio siding with the veteran the last 2 days. And Sidney Brown got the first-team reps at safety to begin training camp practice today. Dorian Thompson-Robinson had his best day with the Eagles. Nice completion over the middle and had his best day at camp. The tools are there for DTR. I have said this so many times. I think Kyle McCord has more upside. I like him better as a thrower. But DTR and the quarterback factory that the Eagles have, developing Hurts, developing Tanner McKee, the long history of Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman being able to develop quarterbacks, Andy Reid back in the day. They've done a great job of bringing quarterbacks along. How many backups have won huge games for Philadelphia? I'm excited to see how DTR can develop and improve with this Eagles organization as compared to him being on the Browns where quarterbacks go to die. So good to see DTR having a good day of practice today. Jalen Hurts was also on NFL Network with Mike Garafolo. He said this about the Eagles' looking forward approach, not worrying about them being defending Super Bowl champions or worrying about last year when they won the Super Bowl. Hurts said, looking ahead, it's a bit contagious. That's what you want, everybody to have a similar mentality and similar approach in what we're trying to accomplish ultimately. I continue to just love this mindset for the Eagles. Last year was last year. That Super Bowl was special, but that was last year. When you have two pillars like Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts who think this way, it is translatable to the rest of the roster. That sets the standard, that sets the message, and I love that. When the Eagles first won in 2017, it was the first one in the history of this organization. The Eagles were celebrating that going into the next year. That's not happening heading into 2025. Hurts also said his communication with new Eagles offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo over the last few years has laid the groundwork for this year's offense. He said he has an opportunity to lead the group, and he's been very, very pointed and clear, and he's been leading with great conviction. That's good to hear. Hurts struggled a little bit today. Elliott Shore-Parks gave him a C grade as far as his completions to incompletions. ESP said this. He was 15 of 24 today. 2 touchdowns, no picks. But as far as his accuracy goes, he was completing like 93% of his throws going into today. Not as efficient today. Had some balls batted down at the line of scrimmage, but still making good decisions with the ball. 2 touchdowns, no picks. So that is day 3. Training camp reaction right here on Eagles Now. Don't forget to hit that sub button. I'll be back tomorrow. Probably, potentially, with an Eagles training camp winners and losers through week 1. So be on the lookout for that, as always. Thank you so much for watching the show. Enjoy your Saturday, enjoy your weekends, and enjoy some time outside. Peace.